because all of the investments of moral energy and convincing and love and ministry at abortion clinics, all of this has come to a moment where we can actually do something. We can save lives by protecting them in the law. You know, this transformational moment, it is a moment. I really believe that it is. And it's visited daily in the hearts of converts all over the place. And I was really struck by one in particular recently in Italy, a convert in Italy, an Italian doctor. I grew up in the South. I have a hard time with pronunciations. His name is Dr. Antonio Oriente. Somebody can correct me soon. But I just read about him in Life Site News. He spent his days as an OBGYN using the tools of his trade to deal death, basically. He used the tools that he had, the training that he had to do abortions. And because of the good people in his life, because of the resounding, convincing conscience that he was blessed with, he converted. And he had a dream that in his own desire to regain the possession of his own life-saving identity as a physician, he had a dream of a redemptive moment. And that moment would be to surrender the implements of death, the implements of misery, frankly, as an abortionist, at the foot of the Pope. And give them over, hand them over in a meaningful moment of redemption. And he didn't expect that would happen, and he wrote about how it was impossible that it would happen, you know, and then this particular Pope came on that surprises people all the time. And this particular Pope did surprise him, and he, in a beautiful moment, had that opportunity. He laid the instruments down in the hands of mercy, love, acceptance, forgiveness. And he took up his own life again in pursuit of pursuing life for other human beings. That happens, that transformation is happening in other ways, in other words, in beautiful ways, over and over in our country all the time. And this act is really an outward sign of an inward transformation that is kind of a micro story of what is happening in our nation right now. I really believe that we will look back at 2014 and say that this was the season of life. This was the season, this was the beginning of the season. This was the beginning of the season where we really started to finally make a decision about where we will draw the line. I think it's the moment where we begin to change our laws from facilitators of misery when it comes to abortion into merciful protections of the most vulnerable human beings. And we start, I believe, halfway through pregnancy. It's such a modest proposal. It's such a completely accepted thing that only a few nations of the world join us in not making this line, drawing this line. You know, at 20 weeks, a child has eyebrows. They have fingernails. They know the sound of their mother's voice. So even WebMD suggests to mothers, start singing to your child then, because they know your voice. They begin to bond with you at 20 weeks. There's no question that we have two people. And also at that point, when implements are close to that child, he recoils or she recoils. There is pain. That child feels pain. These are all he knows love in the way that you would at 20 weeks old. He knows the sound of his mother's voice. He understands what pain is. He recoils to the pain. He's attracted to his mother's love. What an argument that is for a place to draw the line. Such a modest idea. So at that point, when all those things are happening for mother and child and mother, it is a modest proposal, and America wants this. They're doing it already. Some version of this is passed in 13 states. This week or next week, we expect one more state, West Virginia, to be added to that total. So I want to put that out there. There are people in this room that I want you to know that have made this possible. And I also want you to know that I could list all sorts of past successes and future plans. I'm really not going to do that. I might list a couple things, like, like our spectacular woman-led, Trent Frank-sponsored 20-week pain-capable bill that Marsha Blackburn led in the House of Representatives. That spectacular win on the 20-week pain-capable bill, a huge win, a first, a Mission Central moment. And then immediately taken up with a great tailwind in the U.S. Senate with the sponsorship of Lindsey Graham, one of the best strategists that I've ever come in contact with on how to actually make this thing happen. 41 co-sponsors already, and working on how we make sure we get other senators in the Senate, make sure they're on record beforehand, make sure presidential candidates are on record beforehand. Great strategy. I could list this, that without the supplying of the evidence from the Charlotte Lozier Institute, supplied and led by Chuck Donovan, we would be way behind. We would not have had what we needed in any of these fights. And he does in a beautiful, modest way, is building an incredible Alan Guttmacher worthy, but more worthy institute that supplies the scientific reasons for what we do. Look, we're training candidates. We're doing all these things. We're building coalitions. We're doing all the things that we think make sense, going on the offense when we're talking about this phony war on women theme. We're training candidates and we're training ourselves about, it's this, when you're confronted with people who don't want to clean up clinics for 12, 15 years, and they think that you're the one who is about a war on women. Let's figure out how to flip that towards the truth. The war on women is inside abortion clinics. So all of these things we are pursuing, but the most important thing, and the reason that I began with the tools of democracy and why this really matters, is that all of these things that we're doing that you can read about, there is simply no substitute for your conscience, your will, your decision to use all these gifts that the founders gave us. There's honestly no substitute for any of that. That's what the founders did. That's what every successful human rights movement has done. They've used these tools to eliminate human misery and to affirm love. And that's what we have to be about. With doing this, we're going to, the biggest problem that we have is without this, we won't close the gap between public opinion that is ready to save children. They're so ready to close the gap with your political will, with your strong, focused political will. And I say political will because we've got to elect people with a decision to close the gap, to save some children. Close that gap between the opinion polls, our election results, and the laws. That's really how it works. And I really want to thank you, and I love this family that we have here. It grows every year. We're busting at the seams. There are no seats left. And I really want to, in particular, thank some families that have made a big deal, a big difference, not just because they've given some money, and they have tonight. That's part of it. But it's an extension of their love. It's an extension of their mission, their desire, who they are. It's what they can give. The Mudd family, the Albert family, Ellen Barras, the Fowler family, Donna Hetland, the Boma family, all their kids are here. Our kids love their kids. We're thinking, we got to keep this thing going. The Sirkovich family, all the godparents, the Helmuths, the Eugene Murphy, Brent Bozell, who I don't believe is here, but I think he has a lot of lieutenants who we love everywhere. Clint Klein, who did our business plan, who does all of our stuff, all of our graphics. Carol Crossett, whose beautiful artwork out there about the suffrage movement you must follow. Frank Hanna, the Hudock family, the Kania family, all up here. I mean, gosh, they're taking over the world. The Walter Lukens, who's wonderful and forgiving. The Mitchell family and John Murnane and Rob Astorino, who are locked at the hip in trying to take over New York politics, thank God. and Steve Taylor. So thank you for letting me go down the list, and thank you all.